27, the Anti-Bilingual Education Initiative.
This is not an English-only initiative. This is not an English-first initiative. This is English for the children.
Polls show voters will pass the initiative this June. So what does this mean for California's children?
The message is very clear to parents, to teachers, to kids that a foreign language is not healthy.
Today, teachers, administrators, and parents discuss what the future holds for our children. All today on Vista LA.
Hello and welcome to Vista LA. I'm Henry Alfaro.
And I'm Laura Diaz. Today on Vista LA, we will examine the issues surrounding bilingual education and Proposition 227, the initiative that would eliminate bilingual education as it is now practiced in California's public schools.
A controversial initiative indeed that will be on this June ballot, and certainly not an easy one to understand.
Yes, Henry, and it seems like every other day there's a release of another study to prove an opposing side's argument.
But hopefully today, Laura, we will be able to shed some light on this subject. First of all, let's take a look at the initiative and what it really means.
It was the boycott of 9th Street Elementary School in Los Angeles over 2 years ago that inspired the Anti-Bilingual Education Initiative in the state of California. Immigrant parents were concerned about their children being taught in Spanish, so they held their kids out of class for 2 weeks, forcing the school to start teaching classes in English.
What our parents understand is that English is the language of access.
This is where former Republican gubernatorial candidate Ron Unz got the idea for Proposition 227, the proposition that would end bilingual education programs in California.
This is not an English-only initiative. This is not an English-first initiative. This is English for the children.
The English for the Children initiative will be on the June ballot. The initiative requires that all children be placed in English language classrooms. Children who are English learners should be placed in sheltered English immersion classes during a temporary transition period not to exceed 1 year. All local schools will place in the same classroom English learners of different ages, but whose degree of English proficiency is about the same. It also includes putting together those students from different native language groups who have the same degree of English fluency. All polls indicate that the initiative will pass. In fact, a recent survey last March showed 70% of the state's voters do support it. While support for the initiative has been mounting, individual school districts are moving to end bilingual instruction. Bilingual teachers say the English for Children campaign is capitalizing on discontent within the public school system and making bilingual education the scapegoat.
Every version of bilingual education has an English language development component. Every single model. Otherwise, it's not a bilingual program.
In March, the State Board of Education decided it had no authority to order local districts to teach children in their primary language. This decision, according to Professor Magaly Lavadenz, makes the future for children even more uncertain.
We're still very unsure in terms of what are the legal implications of that. We also have several school districts and school boards who have decided to apply for these so-called waivers.
Magaly says what concerns bilingual teachers is that the transition for these limited English proficient students into English classes will not be an easy one and may in the end discourage them to learn English altogether.
My fear is for children who are yanked out of supportive, nurturing environments where they can relate and they can understand the content to a classroom where they are confused, where they are not supported, where they feel lost. And when that will happen, it will be disastrous for those students going through this type of program, which is an experiment. It's a costly experiment at the stake of our children, and that's my greatest fear.
Now today we have with us to discuss Proposition 227, Los Angeles Board of Education member Vicki Castro and Alice Callaghan, founder and director of Las Familias del Pueblo, a community center that works closely with students from 9th Street Elementary School. Ladies, welcome to Vista LA.
Thank you.
Vicki, let's start out with you. You've been a proponent of bilingual education. It's been around the district for many, many years. Is it working, and why?
I believe that we've come a long way to making it work. When I first became a teacher, anyone who spoke Spanish became a bilingual teacher without methodology training. So I think we've gone through some major revisions in the district. In fact, we wrote the whole plan in 1997. So I think we have moved the notch up considerably, and I would say now it is functionally a lot to still improve. And it almost is on a school-by-school basis, but there are many success stories.
Alice, I know that you don't share that opinion, that you think it is not working. In fact, you've been supporting some of the Latino parents who've been opposed to bilingual education. What exactly do you base that assessment on?
You know, bilingual education, and we have to understand we mean many things by that. So in Los Angeles, what we're really talking about is native language instruction, where a child is taught only to read and write in their native language for 4 to 7, and now they're recommending 10 years. So it's not bilingualism in the way many people think about it. In fact, our parents at the center often said, if it were bilingual education, they would have supported it. Everybody supports bilingualism. The problem is our children were only learning to read and write in Spanish. And like most children, our immigrant children were living in Spanish-speaking homes, playing in Spanish-speaking neighborhoods, watching Spanish-speaking television, and then going to school and studying in Spanish-speaking classrooms. And not surprisingly, they were not transitioning later in life to English. And it's interesting, almost the only immigrant group in California that has what we call native language, transitional bilingual education, are the Latinos. And yet it's the Latinos that have the highest dropout rate at almost 40%. They consistently score the lowest on tests, and they have the fewest numbers of people, students admitted to university. So the one group that is the beneficiary or the victim, however one sees that, of bilingual education in California actually does more poorly than every other immigrant group who does not receive bilingual education.
And I would differ on the statistics. First of all, in California, especially in Los Angeles, we are the largest group, so we have many diverse needs. But in Los Angeles, it is not only the Spanish-speaking children that have bilingual programs. We have a very large Armenian population and Korean population, and we do provide bilingual education settings for them. I think some of the, and I take fault with the district on many issues there because they have not held some standard. When I was a principal, I had 10 elementary schools feed into my junior high school. And the one to the east would have an excellent bilingual program and exited, and I'd have great students. To the north, I'd have a school that did very little. So there was inconsistency in the implementation and the monitoring. I think we have come there's been many improvements. And I support the superintendent's call that says that within 3 years, students should be ready to start exiting. We know there's going to be a few kids that come in with extra educational needs that we hope by the 5th year we could exit. So to say that, you know, from 4 to 10 years, you know, there has been improvement and there has been change in the program. And I'm glad that you qualify. You know, when we say bilingual education, it is not one type of class, one kind of method. We take children where we do a needs assessment on their language ability in their native tongue when they come. Some come from schools from countries that are highly educated and literate, and then we have many children in our district that have never even been afforded the opportunity to attend school, and they're 13, 14, 15. So we're talking about illiterate, and we have to address all their needs.
But Vicki, the argument is that here we live in a country, English is the language. Why should we change everything else? Because I know that I didn't speak any English until I started school, and all of a sudden you learn it, and all children can get immersed pretty quickly.
And I think there's a big difference, though, because I didn't speak English when I entered either, and I had a language problem until college. And so there's many things, but there was no real program that addressed. And if we had supportive families and we had the right environment, somehow we made it. But many of my colleagues did not make it, and my biggest fear now is not that they, you know, won't make it through the seat of their pants, those that have the supportive environments. My fear is that when you're not making it and you don't have the support system, that we'll go back to a system that says you are retarded, you're mentally retarded, and the bilingual program that I came out of put kids in retarded classes and special needs.
Vicki, if I could interrupt for 1 second, we're going to go out on that strong point because we'll be right back with more on Proposition 227 and the future of bilingual education. When we come back, we'll review what reactions parents have had in other parts of Southern California. Please stay with us.
We're here this morning to announce the filing of a lawsuit that's intended to give parents a choice in the education of their children